Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another session of podcast. I wish and I'm sure you will enjoy listening to the broadcast.
So we'll start off first with the causes of diabetes, the different lifestyle causes and maybe other medical conditions that really lead to diabetes. So could you tell us first what are the environmental and the lifestyle conditions that cause diabetes in the first place?
Yeah, actually, if you see 40, 50 years back, there was no diabetologist in the society up to
Yeah.
1975, 80. Why? Because there was no diabetic conditions in humanity. Secondly, the basic cause for diabetes, I will tell you, is because of the artificial fertilizer, the urea, the potassium. Excess nitrogen found due to urea in food grains and various other agricultural commodities, and excess potassium found is one of the main reasons for the rise of diabetes in humanity. This is very well studied by the modern science. There are enough of papers available in your net for you to go and study. Second is because of this excess nitrogen and potassium during our digestion, the resistant starch, which doesn't get absorbed by the human body, which is, it's divided into four. Physically inaccessible. The second one is starch granulation. The third one is retrogradation. The fourth one is chemically modified starch. The first three are not absorbed by the one which is all transported into the larger intestine. By the time they reach the colon, it becomes chemically modified starch. They are nothing called. They are nothing other than short chain fatty acids, which is one of the reasons. If more of resistant starch becomes more of chemically modified starch as short chain fatty acids, then when it starts to slip, it can cause diabetes to you.
Okay.
This is where constipation comes into play. This is where your inadequate body movements leads to constipation, which is also one of the major cause. The third one is, as you said, the lifestyle. If you go through the quantum biology, what they now very clearly understand is your mobile screen, your iPad and your laptops and your desktop and all these screens and televisions, those big screens and all that, they all have this blue light toxicity.
Blue light, yeah.
When it falls on the retina, and how visual system works, the light signal goes and falls on the retina and it gets vitamin A comes into play as a chemical reaction happens there, and then it gets converted to electrical pulse and travel through the optic nerves to the visual center at the back of the cortex and enabling you to see what you want to see, or what is that actually you're seeing. So this blue light toxicity goes and jams all our semiconductors inside, which has a terrific impact over all our human potential system of various of our internal organs functioning to the normal level. This is one of the major reasons. And then your food pattern. Too much of cheesy foods, too much of sugar intake. Fructose plays a role. You can go to the YouTube and see Robert Lastig, who has done 40 years of hard work on the damage which can cause by excessive sugar intake, which 50% of is fructose, which leads to more of triglyceride, uric acid, and LDL cholesterol and whatnot. So if you see the modern science, they study this metabolic syndrome. The metabolic syndrome is studied by 5 parts. Accumulating excessive fat around your hip and the belly area is the first one. Increase in higher blood pressure.
Right.
Then increase in fasting glucose levels. Then lowering of HDL cholesterol and increase in LDL cholesterol. These 5 major things sets in because of your inadequate body movements and your higher food intake.
Imbalance between the intake and the...
These 5 imbalances sets in, then you are prone to getting, you're already pre-diabetic. That's how they categorize you, which is correct.
Sure.
Then slowly as the day goes by, your peak performance of your body is only till the age of 25, 30. After 30, 35, everything slows down. The capillary flow slows down. The cardiovascular thing is not working to normal levels. There's a slowdown there. Then the oxygenation, the cellular respiration, the oxidative phosphorylation, everything slows down. Then the inflammatory part of the blood goes higher and higher. Then the glucose level also goes higher.
True.
There are many causes. You can go on telling number of causes. We will not have time.
Sure.
So these are all overall stuff.
Can genetics be a cause? I mean, if my parents had diabetes, am I prone or am I?
My
more
understanding,
likely?
it is not.
It's not. Okay.
If you know how to keep your regime, you are a separate entity. Okay? A thread-like substance in the chromosome, which is called the gene, has the capacity to transfer both physiological and psychological characteristic trait of the mother and the father to the offspring. This is what the modern science speaks. Say I get married at the age of 27 and my wife is 25. And after a year or two, we produce children. Both of us were normal at that time.
Right.
My wife becomes diabetic at the age of 42 and I become diabetic at the age of 55. Now you tell me, I have produced my offspring when I was normal.
True.
Then what they say is, studying the genome, they say you're prone to get diabetes at this age level. My genome and my wife's genome, or the genetic structure or the genetic pattern. So this genetic pattern is the one which produced my offspring, will also get, may or may not, diabetes at that age level.
At that age.
That is how they explain in genetics. But to my understanding, whatever science that I've studied, both in modern science and the ancient science, if I'm going to produce my offspring when I am normal, I don't think so that offspring, if at all it gets diabetes, it's not due to our parental condition, it is due to his lifestyle.
His lifestyle.
And his contamination of the food which is totally become chemically produced. That is how I look at it.
Because there's a huge misconception of it being a genetically transmitted condition as well.
The whole world goes through the modern science, so you tend to agree what the modern science says, like we
Also,
are a part
it's
of
so
modern
common, so that's quite easy to draw correlation.
Yeah, but each, as an individual going through a little bit of science here and there, my understanding is this, what I explained.
Okay. So, what are the symptoms that one should be looking out for
Symptoms of what?
of diabetes, or of
Symptoms
higher
of what?
sugar?
If you are getting diabetes, there'll be frequent urination will be there. Very often hunger will be there. Excessive thirst will be there because your blood is becoming acidic. When the thirst starts, when the blood is in acidic condition, the thirst starts.
Thirst starts.
Because it is trying to dilute itself to release the acidic condition. So the glucose is more, you'll be feeling very thirsty. How much ever water you drink, you will not be satisfied. The thirst will be still on. Excessive thirst, frequent urination, excessive hunger are the basic symptoms for you to realize that you are having excessive glucose in the blood.
Okay.
Simple.
So before we get into actual different cures for diabetes, is it possible to really prevent oneself from diabetes?
It depends on
I'm
that.
looking at prevention as a form of cure itself.
If you are brilliant enough and you are very disciplined with your food habits, first thing is timely food. If you're going to have your breakfast at around 8:30, please have it at 8:30 or maximum 15 minutes, 8:15 to 8:45. Same like lunch. If you're going to have it at 12:45 to 1:15. If you're going to have your dinner at 8, 7:45 to 8:15. One day you're going to have your breakfast at 8:30 in the morning. The second day you will have your breakfast at 11 o'clock. That's not going to help you at all. The first and foremost stuff is timely food. The second one is good food, fresh cooked food, not processed food. Food and nutrition plays a lot of role. That's why we have done lots and lots of videos
true.
on food and nutrition.
Yeah.
Then definitely some good body movements. Play some games. Make it a part of your life every day. Go for long walks. You can really prevent yourself from diabetes with all that. Make sure that your emotional fluctuations are not there. The physical health is basically based on your mental health. Your mental health is going to get disturbed, physical health will be disturbed.
True.
If you're going to have a lot of PMA, positive mental attitude, if you're going to have good mental health, by you are able to identify the strength of your emotions and keep them safe and keep them lower. Make sure you recover things very fast. You keep yourself easy. It is not the question of one keeping himself happy. It is a question of one keeping himself peaceful.
Peaceful. True.
Without fluctuations. Remain calm. That one thing which prevents you from most of the diseases, because your acidic condition of your blood is only contributed by 20 to 25% by the food. The balance 75 to 80% of your acidic condition of the blood is, because of your emotional fluctuation of the thought patterns. If that is going to be addressed, then your pH value of the blood is maintained very well. I don't think so any disease can strike you. It is all there in your hand, how you try to understand the whole thing.
True.
Yeah.
So now let's come to the cure for diabetes. I don't think there's ever a day when there is no WhatsApp forward or a mail that says, okay, you do this and then diabetes is, cured or reduced, sugar is reduced or blood pressure is reduced. There are so many remedies floating all around. I mean, everybody seems to be a doctor. Can you give us a few, of course, part of modern science, lifestyle, and of course our ancient science that was full of beautiful, simple cures for these diseases?
Modern science believe in whatever system that they have researched so far. They are sticking on with the maintenance part of it. So make sure that the diabetic person is sugar level of the blood is controlled. I would call that as maintenance of disease. There is no cure there.
There's no cure.
When diabetes mellitus is always connected to the hypertension. Once the acidic condition of the blood is higher, because the glucose is always on the high side, it leads to higher blood pressure. So normally these two are brothers and sisters, diabetes and hypertension. So they try to control you there. So that is the maximum that they can do. I explained you the 4 different types of mechanisms with which the medicines are produced, and then insulin finally come into play.
Right.
But these medicines, all these 4 forms of medicines and insulin have their own adverse drug reactions. You have something called ADR.
ADR.
So adverse drug reaction with which, when you take these medicines over a span of 15 years or 25 years, 30, 35 long years, it has its own impact over your human chemistry. So that is well known, and it is very well openly researched and put by the modern science. We have to appreciate our humanity to do that work. But you have no cure as such till today at this moment for diabetes. I give you a set of medicine and then no more medicine after that for you, and then also you are completely cured so that your blood glucose level will not rise again. That is not there for us at the moment.
So as you wonderfully put it, you said it's more of a control than a cure.
Yeah, you maintain the blood glucose. That's the maximum that I can do for you at the moment. Make sure that you maintain some normalcy with your section of hematology. That's it I can do now as a modern science experts.
And what about the ancient Tamil?
Ancient science, believe in lead and chromium, which is important metals for this cure. But then these are to make medicines with these metals are very dangerous if you don't know how to make them. Now nobody is there to make these medicines. But there are systems. There are many components from the plant kingdom has enough of lead and chromium. Okay. There are medicines which can which can cure you.
Cure.
Yeah, which can cure you. We analyze. If a person who's good enough with his knowledge, handling the ancient system always worked like this. If you're an ancient science expert, you have to be a doctor by yourself. You should know what is pathology. You should know how to diagnose, and you should know what exactly is the medicine, and you should make that medicine with your own hands. It's a customized stuff. So if that kind of a guy is there, he can very well cure your diabetes. There is no two ways about it. If you know how to pattern your food intake, analyze, try to explain you, create awareness in you to make sure that you have the right kind of food, right on time, a chromium-rich food and all that stuff. With only food and nutrition itself, we can correct it. Naturopathy does that. Homeopathy by and large does that. The Tamil medicine does that. The Ayurvedic does that. You do have a better salvation, a better solution in traditional sciences today. I'm not trying to compare anything. That is not my job. I don't want to compare the modern science with the traditional science. Every science is the product of the human brain. Correct?
Right, true.
The ancient science was given by God and the modern science is given by humanity. No. Everything we have discovered. Today we are the part of science. Today our whole essence of life is based on science. So at the moment we do have certain remedies of keeping ourselves intact in modern science. If the traditional science had an integrated approach can be brought in by both the modern science and the traditional science, I think you can give better solution to diabetes, which is not having a total cure at the moment with the modern science. After all, the benefit of the patient counts in the end.
True. So lastly, food plays a very important role, as you said, and most diabetics people are told you should not eat rice or you should not eat sweets. Definitely you shouldn't eat sweets, etc. And by not eating all of this, you can control your diabetes. Or there are certain vegetables like bitter gourd or lady's finger that are supposedly said to control diabetes. So how do you look at food as a solution?
So you cannot cut the
diabetes?
carbohydrate in total because you need glucose to 100 trillion cells. Where is the question of cutting carbohydrates? You want the neogenesis to go on? Neogenesis goes on for survival, not for basic living.
Not for everyday living, yeah.
No. Body, where it will go for glucose? You cut the entire glucose. You go on a keto diet of more of protein and all that. You are loading the kidney, which you are not supposed to do. Once I am going to reduce you from carbohydrate more and more and more and more, the first problem, what happens is depression of the brain. Because the brain, as I said, consumes 75% of the glucose comes in through your food and nutrition.
Yeah.
If you're going to slow down the carbohydrate, the brain is you're going to become tired, you're going to become depressed, you're going to become lazy, with which you don't feel like doing anything. I don't feel like cooking. I would like to laze around. I would like to lie down. I would like to sit. I don't want to watch TV. I don't want to read a book. This is the status of the mind will sit in if you're going to reduce glucose. You are not supposed to reduce glucose. That doesn't mean you're going to eat excess glucose. You need the required glucose. Already the glucose going in itself is getting dissolved in the inflammatory part of the blood, which is not reaching the human cell. So the cells are not getting glucose, and that cell overall signal goes to the brain, and the brain triggers the liver, and the liver creates hunger. Immediately, half an hour after your food, you feel hungry. It's a false alarm. Everybody knows.
Right.
Because the cells feel that we need food for the glucose. Cells doesn't know that I have eaten just now.
Yeah. The glucose is not just getting.
You're deprived. You're deprived. The first thing is brain is deprived. The action of the brain, the activity of the brain. the cortex connected cognition works, everything is going to slow down. Once the cognitive factors slow down, then you become depressed. And this is explained by Russell Blaylock very clearly. What happens when you keep on drinking this Diet Coke and Diet Pepsi, which has no sugar, which has other sugar substitutes, which cannot be converted into glucose to supply the human cells for the RNA and the DNA to have. That's how the whole system works.
It keeps you feeling tired.
Yeah, you have to be balanced with your diet. There is, yes, make sure that your glucose-based carbohydrate food is on the lower side, but it cannot be too much on the lower side.
And what about vegetables and certain fruits, etc.?
Vegetables are more of an alkali food. Vegetables are more of, they have more of fructose, which can be metabolized only by the human liver cells, not the rest of the human body. Vegetables do not have much of glucose. You have your root vegetables with a lot of glucose. But you're going to squeeze that person from not having the alus and all the root vegetables, because you're cutting him off from carbohydrates. The green vegetables are supposed to be very good because they hold a lot of fiber. It's going to be very good for you. It has a lot of other components, rare components. Good. Eat a lot of vegetables, but you have to have the necessary glucose. Where the food and nutrition expert is going to design his chart of a food and nutrition, advising a diabetic guy or a girl to have a balanced diet to make sure that excessive glucose do not come into the blood, which has to be really thoughtfully, carefully looked into. If you're going to curb him completely from carbohydrate, you're going to make him a brain sick guy, a brain sick individual. The brain is going to become sick. Your thought process, your thinking power, everything slows down. This guy has done a lot of work, Russell Blaylock, Dr. Russell Blaylock, is a very big researcher in America. He's done a lot of work on food and nutrition. He has given one video on the food and nutrition of the human brain. You go and read that, if you go and see that 1 hour video, you will understand all these things what I'm explaining here.
Thank you very much for spending your quality time. Thank you very much for your attention. I wish you enjoyed this session. See you later.